Hey everybody, we got the Weber Kettle fired up today and we are making this beautiful pork roast on the Weber Kettle. Let's go. So we're just gonna jump into it. I got this in a mystery pack from our local grocery store. They had a bunch of pork chops, pork roasts in there, and looking at it from the side, thought this was just gonna be a pork chop roast. But as I took it out of the cryovac to start getting into it, I'm starting to see there's things that aren't normally there. Like you can see here, this is a nasty big piece of cartilage. Very solid, not gonna wanna cook that. So I'm gonna trim some of this off. I might have to trim this cap off, but then you could also see on the back here, we've got ribs. These are the baby back ribs. So we've got some of our baby back rib bones on here still, and we're gonna have our loin underneath here. I'm hoping to cut these into pork chops later, but I'm probably gonna have to separate them off the bone. And you can see here, we still have some of that pork butt bone in here. So this is just a hack from the grocery store. I'm probably gonna take this off, cook this separate, cook this roast separate, see what we come up with. So let's get into it. First thing I'm gonna do, we got this bone here from the pork butt, that blade bone. I'm just gonna try to go under that cartilage and under the bone to get this open. And try to stick as close to that cartilage as possible without losing any of the meat. And that follows right up to that blade bone. And we're just gonna go right around it as much as we can. Now this is connected by a bunch of fat here, so I'm just gonna go around that. All right, now we're lugging. Got a nice little couple rib bone. This is gonna be nice for dinner tonight. This should be a quick cook. We're just gonna cook this as is. Try to cut off these bones after it's cooked. We're gonna leave the bones on for now. Let's see what we got out of here. This looks like all pretty fatty, so let's see if this is even worth saving for cooking today. This might just go for sausage trim later, which I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put this off to the side. We're gonna concentrate on this, save this for sausages later. Great idea. Okay, we've got this beautiful hunk of meat now, all trimmed up, looking good. Let's get her seasoned up. We're gonna hit this with 2 different seasonings today. Make sure we get all around that. First seasoning we're gonna hit it with is Heath Riles Simple Citrus. This gives you a good little tang from that citrus, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. We're gonna chase that rub up with some chicken fried barbecue Texas rib grind. This stuff is great. Great appearance on it, great flavor. I love the coarse pieces of black pepper in here. This is just gonna add so much more color and flavor for this cook. Let's pat it around there, get some of that extra rub on there. Again, this is a bigger hunk of meat. You usually take a lot of seasonings. Okay, we have our pork roast seasoned. Let's go check on that Weber Kettle, see if it's up to temperature. We started this with some B&B lump charcoal, threw a couple pieces of pecan wood in there. We didn't put a lot of coals in there today because we're gonna cook this low and slow. So let's go check on that grill and see how the fire's doing. Got a nice little fire rolling here. Good little smoke coming out of the pecan chunks we've thrown in there. I think it's time to get this pork roast onto the grill. Rub's looking nice and wet and tacky. Let's do this. Put that right in the center there. We are set up for 2-zone cooking. We got our hot zone over here, got our cool zone over here. Gonna let this fire burn, produce the heat. It's gonna roll over nice, get us a nice little smoky, low and slow pork roast. Let's close her up. Keep that about halfway open, and we'll be back in, I don't know, 45 minutes, hour or so. Check on it, see how it's doing. Be back then. We came out at about an hour to give it a check. I did put a temperature spike into it, gave it a rotate, make sure it's cooking evenly. Looking great so far. We shut it back down. Been another hour and a half or so. We're reading about 135 degrees internal. We're only taking this up to about 145 degrees until we pull it off to let it rest for a little while. So now we're within about 10 degrees. It's been rocking 300 degrees right around the whole cook. We're gonna throw a quick sauce on here, give it that final touch. Now look at this thing. The color on here is fantastic. Juice is rendering out. I'm gonna pull this out so we could give that a quick saucing. Just gonna hit it with some Dangles sweet habanero rib sauce, one of our favorites. Just gonna pour it on there and brush it. Get that all over. Got it sauced up. We're gonna get that temp spike back in the middle there. This is in the final minutes of it. 135 is only gonna come up about 10 more degrees. Thinking maybe another 15, 20 minutes. So all in all, this is gonna be about a 3-hour cook. We'll be back when it's time to slice and taste. We'll be back. We pulled this pork roast off right when it was about 140, 141 degrees, gave it a light temp, brought it in the house, let it rest for about 15, 20 minutes, came up to that 145. Now it's kind of chilling there, coming back down a little bit. Perfect time to slice into it. Now again, we gotta remember, this has all those baby back bones and bones from possibly the pork butt in here. So I'm gonna try to take those bones out. I wanted to keep them in there, keep that flavor in there. We're gonna see how easy this is to detach. Let's check it out. This thing is looking gorgeous. Check out the colors on here. Those rubs and that sauce. This is gonna be delicious. Now we have these ribs here. It looks like some bones down underneath here. Yep, all the way through. Let's see. There's not enough room to cut in between these bones here. So I'm just gonna try to trim along them and around here and take these bones out. Wish me luck. Just kind of follow it around, saving as much meat intact as possible. And just let the bone kind of guide you around. And then when you get to the bottom, there you go. Now this is a lot of good meat in here. Let me try this piece here. This looks so good. Smoky, you get that savory from those rubs, a little pepper, a little sweet from the sauce. I'm gonna work on these here in a minute. Time to slice into this and try this out. Now this thing is gorgeous. I'm gonna cut this into, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 little steaks here. Look at these. I don't know if you can see how juicy that is. And that's why I stuck the probe right into the center, because you didn't want to overcook these. If you're only monitoring the temp on the outside of a larger roast, the inside is not going to cook as quick. So you want to make sure that that internal of the center of the roast gets up to temp. Now, that being said, this just looks beyond incredible. I'm going to hack this piece off here, get that seasoning and that sauce on there. This is almost like a prime rib here. This is what I needed today. Delicious. Now, if you like what we did here, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, check me out on social media, and we will be talking to you all soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.